All right. Hello, hello, hello. How are you all doing? Let's move this here. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. All right. We should be good to go, I think. Orkin, what's happening? Lazy Sketch Guy, how you doing? Candice, good morning. Great to have you all. Alright, so today I'm just gonna... It's gonna be a mixed bag. We're gonna do... random stuff. I'm gonna pick random... references. I'll throw this in chat for you guys if you want to follow along with the exact reference that I'm using. And we are just going to go for it, I think. Just get started. All right, and up the top as well, I should say, it's getting bloody close now. Lightbox, I will be there with my friend Rembert Montold, booth 421. I should know the dates, but I don't. October the 20-something to the 20-something. In Pasadena. So if you want to come say hi, I will be there. Looking forward to it, getting everything prepped. All right, let's get some of these shapes in here to start with. Let's lock in. All right. And let's go for it. Okay, I see this. Poof, poof. This kind of deal. That follows in to this kind of deal. Which then got this going on, this going on. Up, up, up. There. Then what else do we have? We've got this arm here. Now I'm not liking this at all actually. I want that head to be ducked right the way down. Very abstract to begin with. Nothing wrong with abstractions. Got the lats. Got the stomach. Got the pants. This is what I'm starting with. Got the ear. Got the fists. Alright, and now we play. Also, I think I can say this. Going to be on a panel, which will be pretty cool. Going to be talking all things social media and whatnot. When that is, I don't know yet. I think the panel times and everything are soon to be what's the word? Announced. Also, I think today is an hour later than what we usually are because of the old daylight savings. I think. our daylight savings at least. Rani, good morning. What do I usually look for? Reference pictures all over the place. Typically for stream, it's easier just to whack open Pinterest because I've got a bunch of boards that I've already collected. But you can get reference images you can purchase them, you can take them yourself, which isn't a bad idea. It just really depends on what you're looking for. And with with the reference images, it's not a bad idea to have a goal if you are like really, really trying to study something. At the moment, I'm just finding visually interesting ones that I thought was kind of cool just for the stream. But that's why it's like worth, if you are using Pinterest or something like that, creating boards that are specific to sort of what you're studying, and then you can use that more ideas button, which will sort of spit out similar kind of things, which I found super helpful. I reckon that's a good little tool. Alright, so what are we looking at here? So we got the fist here, boom, boom, negative space. Got a little bit of tangent town going on here, so let's just fix that up a little bit. Now I'm trying to find that termination shadow. Like along the form. There's going to be little ones here. Like little. So we've got the forms here. So these are sort of wrapping around. But I'm trying to find where that light source is. Feel like it's coming down from here. And then I'm seeing this nice kind of shape here. And then you got some other nicer little shapes down here as well, which we can kind of play with hopefully. Now I don't like that his ear is right next to his eye. Doesn't make too much sense. So let's whack that back here a little bit. I wanted to kind of lose his neck a little bit as well. Maybe even kick this out a little bit more. Just trying to push the shapes just a tad. Let's see if we can get this feeling of form here. So I'm going to darken up this core shadow here, this terminator line. Then we're going to use the smudge tool to give some illusions. I do like the back row cut. I would have used Rebel today, except for it was feeling really laggy last time for no fault other than all the streaming stuff I've got up. I've got like 3 monitors going. and I'm running off of a laptop, so I don't have the beefiest of setups. And it does, because it is like such a powerful tool. I'll have to do some experimenting on how to optimize it a little bit for streaming. But yeah, no, I love this sort of background. This sort of off-white background vibes. It's very nice. So I'm going to smudge this out. Still trying to do somewhat of that traditional feel, right? So if we add in more. Casey, what's going on? No more Twitch streams? I want to do Twitch streams, but OBS won't let me for whatever reason. Every time I try and do the Twitch output, it just crashes everything. Fernando, what's going on? Great to have you. Yeah, OBS is not playing nice. Yeah, I'm gonna figure it out though, because I reckon I will be back on Twitch. Definitely. I am just having some technical difficulties, which is a pain in the ass. What's the difference between Photoshop and Illustrator? Photoshop is a raster based thing, so think of it as pixels. If I scale this up, you get pixelated stuff. Illustrator is typically, although you can do raster based, I'm saying it like Rasta, like Rastafarian, like Rasta based stuff in Illustrator. It's more mathematical vector based things, so you can scale it up to larger sizes. It's typically used for logo designs, graphic design, that kind of stuff, and you can do a bit of vector in Photoshop as well. But yeah, those are the main differences. Clap pixels. Oh, Fat Cappy, what's going on? Oh shit. Twitch has, I don't even know what that means, but I know it sounds, yeah, very, very Rasta. Twitch has some really good community building opportunities. Hope to see you back over. Oh, 1,000%. Yeah, I agree. And I've got mates that do the Twitch stuff, but I think they're running on PC, because I think that's what's the word? Oh, it's just got Bill Gates. When Microsoft, far out. I think OBS runs better on Microsoft on Windows than Mac OS, from what I've heard. Yeah, Mac and streaming can be tough, and I'm doing it on a laptop, so M1 Max. It's an M1 Max, whatever that, yeah. If that means anything to you, so it's not a terrible machine, but for beefy stuff, like if also. Anyone using Blender and they've got an M1 Mac or a MacBook Pro, do this. This is like a public service announcement. All right. Let's have a look. Okay. Go into your settings. All right. Go to preferences. Choose the first one under metal, and then come down to for cycles, use GPU compute. I've been underutilizing the power of my machine the whole time I've had it for multiple years without even realizing it. Like how fast this now renders in the viewport compared to just do it using the CPU. I'm kicking myself. So there you go. Little Blender optimization tip. Rani, when doing line art, how to decide which line should be thicker or thinner? I have a video on that on YouTube if you want to check that out. But as a quick off the top of my head, I like to think of light sources as one variable. Oh, also, thank you, David. I just saw that from what I've seen your stories. Your art has improved greatly. Appreciate you. Yeah, so the light source is one. All right, where the light source could have shadows. Oh, sorry, not the like. If the light source is coming from here, maybe this line underneath here is going to be darker. All right, so the line can have depth in a way. Where this up here might be a little bit thinner. That's one thing. That's a start. I would, to help you out as well, I would go and look at artists' line work that you really like and see if you can find some logic in the decisions or some patterns as to like why they're making certain decisions. You know, that's going to be your best bet, because instead of just doing studies or whatever, just because you feel like you've got to do studies, see if you can be like, all right, where are all their thick lines? Where are all them, like, in what areas are they, you know? And then you can start to implement those assumptions or those findings in your own work and see if it makes sense, you know? Morteza, appreciate you, my friend. MDS, how you doing? Quispy, hey Ben, love your work. Would you ever consider making your take on how to tackle the fundamentals course? Yeah, I would. Not on the nearby roadmap at the moment, but yeah, definitely. I'd want to really think about how I can differentiate and put my spin on it as well, and like how I think about them. Because there's things that, like, ways that I think about it that are going to be different than others, and I don't want to just be, yeah. Basically, I'd really want to think about it and make it really, yeah, as good as I could, you know. Instead of just be like, oh, draw some cubes, you know. I'm not saying that's what others are doing by any stretch of the imagination, but I'd like to put my little flavor on it, you know, which is what I'm doing with this upcoming course on light and value. I think you can cross stream through Streamlabs OBS, perhaps. Don't know if XSplit is still around. Yeah, so I am cross streaming at the moment. So I'm streaming on Instagram and YouTube, but when I go and do the Twitch output, on Streamlabs OBS. Sorry, my apologies. Yeah, I've got to sort something out. Particularly Like I really want to I want to experiment for when Grand Theft Auto comes out to run that and then do plein air paintings while being the character and like have it like split screen, and then I'm doing like a quick, and then we could do it like explore the world of GTA 6 and then go do a plein air. I don't know what I'd call that stream though. So I've got to figure that out before then. But I got some time. I want to have some fun with that. MDS, I learned about that this week in 3D class. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, well, I'm jealous because I've been doing that. I just assumed, like if I used the default, that it's like, oh yeah, of course it would choose the best way to render everything based on my hardware. No, of course not. Bloody course not. Alright, see how we're starting to get this like illusion of, maybe I might want his chest to like poke out here a little bit. Christian, what's going on, dude? Oranian also saw that you had your stuff at the CDW show thing. Yeah, that was cool. That was cool to see it in the wild. Definitely. All right, let's erase a bit to make this cut in. It looks a bit bulbous at the moment. Yeah, also changing the rendering engine from Eevee to Cycles. Yeah. That's great. Because I'm using a lot of 3D to explain ideas in this course coming up. And the issue with Eevee is that it doesn't have, I mean, you can, but it's kind of a pain in the ass to do like reflected light. And it doesn't show up. Good for form stuff and like quick renders, but not for physically accurate stuff, which is fine. It's not what it's made for, but I've just got to keep that in mind with what I'm doing, you know. Sam Kelly. Steve Houston kind of straight. I watched a video of his this morning and I felt inspired. Very good eye. Yeah. Now I'm trying to learn some of these techniques because it all makes sense from a fundamental standpoint, right? Lights are lights, values are values, but like how you perform them on the page on any particular thing or subject matter, you know? That's the fun stuff. And this is where it would be nice to sort of crack open Rebel and have a play with like the charcoal, because that will just like look exactly like charcoal. Crispy, of course. Candice, have you heard of the situation of CGMA shut down? I'm supposed to start a mentorship next week, but no news so far. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, I have heard of it. I think it's, without doing a bunch of speculation, from what I understand, I believe it has to do with, allegedly, no, I don't know, but this is from what I've read. Could be false, could be whatever. What's that other, Domestica, to do with those guys, which I've never been a massive fan of personally, just from some of the stories I've heard. That's just my personal opinion. Yeah, stories I've heard of other artists putting their stuff on there. Ben, it would be nice to see you draw characters from the older games until GTA 6. Orkin, you bloody read my mind, my friend. That would be fun. To like kind of promote what I'm going to try and do. And even just for funsies as well. And from a, in the content world kind of stuff, it'll be not a bad idea either. Let's see if I... Normal, dark, and lighten. If I do the soft smudger, but I whack a bit of noise on there, what will that do? Gives me a little bit, you know, a little bit of something. Something to play around with. Rather than just the silky smooth sort of stuff. Alright, how are we tackling the head? Do we even want to tackle the head? That's the question. Everything in the face kind of in shadow if we're keeping the same logic of light. Daniel Ortiz, what's going on? Give it a little flip. What have we got here? What can we do? We can sort of come through here. Do a little bit of this action. Sort of bring it down. Yeah, I've been more and more fascinated recently with like pencil work and charcoal and just that kind of vibe. And then seeing how I could actually utilize it in my work as well. Because that'll be fun. I really want to blend the worlds of like traditional and digital, and I think here we can really keep this a hard edge, I reckon, or a somewhat hard edge underneath here, and we can sort of like scallop that in somehow, or even whack that across and design that a little bit better. And then even come back through with a bit of the eraser. To make sure we're getting this tricep working. Not the best, not the worst. So this is going to be a little bit darker in here, right? Because this is, the bounce light isn't going to be hitting here as much. So what I might do is I'll get my little cheetah brush, come through, darken all this down in here, and then whack a bit of smudge in there. It's getting a little bit too smudgy for my liking, but that's alright, we'll build it up. Build it up. And then we can refine. So yeah, just playing at the moment, to be honest. Just having to play something that's a little bit out of my comfort zone. Also want to make sure we have some of this wrapping around this way as well. Can we do a little bit of the smudge on the face and kind of lose the face even? Does that make sense? So it does give that real Steve Houston vibes. We can come through, smudge that all up in here. How can we make these forms feel more 3D? We're going to use the eraser. Yes, I'm not as chatty when I'm out of my comfort zone. How do I... Yeah, a bit of noise might help. A little bit out of my comfort zone. Here, what's next? See if we can keep a bit of that core shadow. That'd be ideal. And here is where some of that, like this is way too soft. Like this transition. So let's cut that back in. A little bit of the eraser. Get that working for us. So we can sharpen up this edge here, I reckon. Sharpen that guy. Sharpen this guy. Sharpen this guy potentially in the back. So we don't necessarily need any fancy brushes to give it the illusion of that more charcoaly kind of feel. It's more the technique and how you lay down the values that's going to give it that look, you know? trying to navigate this form here, which is a little tricky. So it kind of looks like a hole here, which I don't really want. Squint our eyes, see if we can, maybe this just needs to go back. Here, and then we can pick out some of these lights later on, you know. And I'm just erasing here, I'm not adding any lighter values. I'm trying to keep it to just like the paper being the lightest light, you know. It's really, we're using our fundamentals in different ways. In doing that, we can still get that illusion of light. So if we get this core shadow going on, and I think this is where I got caught up back in the day with the core shadow, because you do, like, you can think that it's a thing because you're painting it in, if you know what I mean, or you're sketching it in. Like here, you're actually darkening it down sometimes, so it feels like, yeah, it's always got to be there, but that is not always the case. No, I'm not going for any kind of likeness here. Or just a vibe. Alright, could we even push like the highlight a little bit with like a lighter value maybe. We could. I think that's a little bit too much. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I like that. I think we would have to work up our forms a little bit more if I wanted to do that. But anyway, first one, done. I just wanted to try that as a little experiment. Ben, is this the first time you're using this shading technique in Photoshop? I don't think that's the first time. I don't practice it often. But this kind of like vibe that you can get from this is predicated on there being very clear light and shadow values, or light and shadow patterns, if that makes sense. So there's like a clear, like, yes, there is a like a light side and a dark side, you know, and then you could sort of carve into the dark side a little bit to sort of pull out some of these forms. But it is really sort of, it works the best when there's that, what is it called? Chiaroscuro or something like that. Chura something. Chiaroscuro. I don't know. I think it means like a clear, dark and light between the forms. So let's try another, maybe not, I'm just going to experiment. Maybe we do something like this again. Maybe not. We'll see. See what I'm feeling. I just want to get these hands and whack them back in space a little bit. Cool. And maybe just a little bit of the old outline. See if we can remove that tangent a little bit. And then push these forms of his arm a little bit more forward. Right, maybe even just over his shoulder here. Just shun. Yeah, there you go. Cool. Next. I like the light on this guy's face. Let's give it a whirl. Okay. So I'm trying to be a little bit of a stylistic chameleon, you know? So we're taking bits and pieces from different styles, different rendering methods, bringing it into our own. With this one, I'm less concerned about likeness. more interested in this sort of play with the light and the shadow. Because that's being cast by this hat here. Maybe we should make the hat a little bit bigger. I don't know, we can do that later. I really just want to play with this idea, and then that falls off into shadow. And this is that cast shadow. So we've got a couple of things happening here. We've got that form shadow going on, and then we've got the cast shadow. I'm just going to play. My instincts are to just do what I've done all the time. Let's experiment. Let's just go and block in those shadow shapes, and then maybe we can start having to play around with carving some of these shapes out. Let's actually sketch in his body a little bit. That'll do, gives a bit more context. Boom, boom, boom. Give it the old smudge treatment. Maybe we should try and leave some of that pencil work underneath as best we can. Alright, so this being the cast shadow, yeah, I've just gone and nuked all the pencil work, that's fine. Anyway. Got our soft round. This is going to be very hard edged, so I kind of want to keep that there. Let's do a bit of this now. Also, I've been looking further and further into line decker as well, and the process that he's taken. Because there's a lot of nuance to it. Even with some of the stuff he's written, what's actually on the canvas kind of contradicts that a little bit as well. So it's like it's a fun little figuring out game of how did you actually achieve this? Because it's like a lot of the illusion has a lot to do with layers, like the layers of paint, like keeping the shadows thinner than the lights, because as the paint gets thicker and you've got a little bit of that impasto, it gives an extra element to the painting. other than just your typical like value structure of the lights and the darks. It has a physical three-dimensional property to it. And there was one thing that he said where he's like, I do not blend anything. But then you see on his paintings and there's like an exceptionally smooth blending. And that was like a second-hand note to one of his students. Like, I don't think he wrote down too much of his process. Every time you do a line decker study, there's always something new you notice. 1,000%. And then you've got like the different eras of line decker. Like you got the early eras. You got the Saturday Evening Post. You got the different subject matter. Like, yeah, it's very, very fun to do my own sort of sleuthing. Particularly if you can get some like high resolution. Images. Alright, so now I'm going to start sculpting some of these ideas. I want to keep this fairly firm. I might even want to do a quick dust pass over so it's not paper light on his face, so it gives us some room later if we did want to add a bit of the specular highlights. We can. So yeah, this is real just experimentation time. Not worried about it looking 1,000% correct, you know, because we've got some stuff going on here where you've got his beard, which is going to be a lighter local value. So we've got to take that into account. Maybe we want the eyes here somewhere. So we're almost working backwards in a way. Getting the lights and the values in first, or at least the structure, and then messing around with the proportions and stuff. Rowan, you ever considered to use Critter as a free Photoshop alternative? Yeah, I have used Critter. You can import Photoshop and other programs brushes. That's cool. That's good to know. Yeah, I haven't used Critter in a little while, but nah, I like Critter. No, good call. See, I'm not like a... Oh, bless you me. I'm not like a diehard fan of any one tool in particular, you know. All the tools do different jobs at different times. Well, thank you, Orkin. All right, let's see if we can get a little bit of this face anatomy happening. One thing that I tend to do with the eyes is not leave enough room between the nose, you know, so I'll like push the eye here accidentally. So I want to make sure I do leave a little bit of that room. This is 4000 by 4000 canvas size. This is giving me like Old West vibes. Particularly the paper color as well. That kind of like feeds into that feeling a little bit. And the cowboy hat. That does a bit. Give those kind of vibes. Alright, what are we doing here? How is this working? Yeah, it does. Yeah, it gives it that Western vibe. One thing I'd like to really study, but I don't think it would be very interesting for you guys, is clouds. I've not done too much cloud study. But if you look at, speaking of Western, if you look up Mark, I think it's Maggiore, his clouds, I want to understand how he does them. Oof. No worries. Ruan? I usually spend something about 16 hours in a good rendered illustration. Do you consider this a good time? Normally I start and finish in the same day. Yeah, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. There's no such thing as like a good time or like a correct amount of time. I mean, if you had a deadline and the deadline was in 12 hours and you got it done in 16, then that would be a bad time. You know, it's all relative. Well, not a bad time, but like a not ideal amount of time, you know. Now, even this beard, we got to make sure that we're thinking in 3 dimensions. All right. Got this lip, imagining that center line of the lip here, center line of the nose. All right, this is all coming into the equation. Let's make this hut a little bigger, I reckon. Should sort of come back something like that. And this is gonna go something like that. Now I know that some artists also, they'll like blur the line work, right? So we could take this, because this is all just on one layer. We could take this, maybe I just duplicate it just in case we don't like what we're doing. Duplicate it, give it a little bit of a blur, Gaussian blur. Right, and then you come back through and then sharpen up stuff that you want, and then leave some stuff that should be blurred. Just kind of could give it a cool vibe. I've actually never done that, I don't think. So let's see how it goes. So we could like pick out or bring into focus. What am I doing? Here we are. Now I am just color picking. Yeah, we could. I was thinking that, but I'm like, it's a bit on the nose. You know? It's like very predictable. What else could he have? Pretty cool to use the Terminator to determine the shadow boundaries. Yeah, the Terminator's wicked. Very, very helpful. Well, this isn't technically the Terminator, but that would be the Terminator. It does give it, like that blur, does give it a little bit of depth, which I quite like. There's something about it. Can't quite put my finger on it, but it's, yeah, kind of cool. We can kind of come over some of the old sketch and fix it up where we want to, you know. Piper, a sheriff's badge. Again, it's too on the nose. It's like, yeah, what different? I'm thinking different, like out of the ordinary. Win. I believe that's Japanese. And I've got no idea what it says. But if it's kind, welcome. Good morning, Win. Great to have you. So see how we've got that sort of illusion of light happening without doing too much work, you know? Have I considered to do animation? Yeah. I have. I do have an interest in it. I just haven't had time to really sink my teeth into it, you know? We could take clues or cues, let's say, from the reference to start adding some of this, some of the highlights. But before that, before the highlights aren't what I'm interested in. They're like the cherry on top. I almost want to play around in the darks here. All right, so I want to see if I can brighten this value up where it would be facing the skylight, if you know what I'm saying. If you're picking up what I'm putting down. I don't know. I feel like I'm speaking a lot softer today because I'm a little less sure of what I'm doing. At least it seems like it to me. We're like slowly playing with different methods, and I don't know what I'm doing. I understand fundamentals, but from a technique standpoint, I feel like I'm just figuring stuff out. Could we even use a little bit of occlusion shadow, potentially? Right underneath here. I think that would help out a lot. Yeah, I know what you're doing. You're drawing crocodile done bloody D. Oh, this would have to be an alligator's crocodile's tooth. If that was the case. Or a shark's tooth. That's not a knife. I think as an Australian, we should petition our national anthem to be something different. Something that everyone knows us by. Like, what's it, The Land Down Under? That should be our national anthem. I think personally. Sketchy what's going on. Like, imagine it like the Olympics or like sporting events and that sort of stuff, like how much would get into it instead of the very a more stoic typical national anthem. All right, how are we going to tackle Le Beard? Not sure. Let's work out the filthy plugin. We're using everything at our disposal today to see if we can just block in. So even though this is in the shadow, right? It is a much lighter local value. And there's directionality to the hairs. And that's if you want to go full on, or like it depends how close you want to follow the reference, right? But there is a point here where this will cross over into light. And this can be a cool little moment for us to show. You'll see what I mean in a sec. Get out of here. Cool little moment to show that definition between the light and the shadow. Alright, so it comes down here. Maybe this. Alright, so this is the skin tone. Maybe this is a little bit brighter. And this is going to cross over. Alright, there's going to be some flyaway hairs in the light. This is going to be the brightest part, probably. Okay, I know. Alright, so it gives that illusion of crossing over, because you got some of these hairs crossing over. Even like we could do a cheeky bit of this stubble as it sort of crosses over into the light. Could be fun. One of these cheeky little hairs getting pulled out from the shadow into the light. I don't usually have the opportunity to draw alone with you, but I did today, and I think I did some of the best drawing that I've done in some time. Bloody fantastic to hear it, Sketchy. That's awesome. Gamer, how you doing? Got a drip coffee with almond milk. Look at you, fancy. Jeez. Don't brag. I love like proper coffee because I just use the just like at home freeze dried stuff. But if I have too many like proper coffees, I have a bloody panic attack. It's such a fine line with me and caffeine. Let's see if we, yeah, so this transition here is what's interesting to me between the light and the shadow. For me, it's death before decaf. I don't think I've ever tried decaf, actually. You have a pretty methodical approach to sketching. Usually do a ton of nonsense. You usually do a ton of nonsense lines. Yeah, I swap and change between my sketching methods. Sometimes I'm a lot more sketchy and loose, you know. Sometimes I'm a lot more methodical. I just felt like being more methodical here. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm not as confident with what I'm doing right now. Currently finishing a comic while watching you draw before work. Ah, fantastic, Win. How's the comic coming along? Gamer, I was a barista for... Oh, that's right. Yeah, he was a barista for 5 years, so I probably put too much effort into brewing quality coffee at home. No, not too much. That's a me issue. That's not a you issue. You making good coffee. That's fantastic. All right, so we got a little bit of that indication of the shadow from the thingy, the beard. Nah, all good, Ryan. I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant. So you got the sort of occlusions of the lips here, let's say. When is Lightbox? I keep thinking it's next week for a few weeks now. I believe it's the 20th. Let's actually look it up. I should start promoting it more now. So let's have a look. Lightbox Expo 2025. Lightbox Expo, shit, 18 days. Far out. 24th to the 26th. In 5 hours, 42 minutes and 12 seconds. 11 seconds. Yeah, so I'll be here. We're going to hang out. Do stop by. Tyler, what's happening, dude? I think we can also play with some of these subtle highlights. Now I really want to, I kind of want to figure out what I'm exposing for. Am I exposing for the lights or the darks? All right, so where is all the details going to be? Probably the lights, I'd imagine. It's going quite okay. Did 12 pages within 12 hours. Far out. And when I came home, I slept for a whole day. I thought I woke up at 6 p.m., but apparently it was 6 a.m. That's nuts. So not next week, but it's getting bloody close. I thought it was for 4 days as well for some reason. I don't know why I thought that. What's in store for today? Just doing it, like just experimenting with different rendering styles. Doing more black and white stuff. Still working on our fundamentals. Nothing changes there. It's just I don't know. I'm just experimenting a little bit. Actually, I should just erase. Let's see what erasing just does instead of just whacking the white on there, because it's kind of like a cooler white. Which is not bad, but let's see what we can do with just erasing to increase the value a little bit. If this is going to be our main focus of detail, because we want to get some subtleties in the midtones here. That would be ideal. Yeah, I feel like the paintings and the renderings that like really wow me are the ones where they have like ultra high control in the midtones. Which is very, very tricky to do. Because we all get taught, right, the separating the darks and the lights. So you kind of understand that to a certain degree. But there's all these subtle value shifts in the lights and in the darks as well. Which I feel like sometimes they get, I don't know, overlooked. Sometimes. At least in... Because it's tricky, because you can get caught up in all the little details really quick. So I do appreciate the idea to keep things simple. But I don't know, I'm always one to ask, like, why? Why does the art that I'm looking at make me go, holy shit? And the stuff that I do doesn't. Because it should almost be like a little magic trick for yourself as well. You know, you're drawing along, you've created some sort of idea of light, you know, or some little illusion of light. When I get to do that, it does feel like a little magic trick just for myself. I'm like, ha, that's looking cool. JJR, what's going on? It has been a while. Hope you've been well. Oranian. I know exactly who you're talking about. Yuming. Yeah, they're great. But that's the thing. They like wow you with the colors. But you take it black and white. It's those fundamentals, you know. Prashant, what's going on, dude? Great to have you pop in. Thank you, JR. Back at ya. Yeah, this guy, we've got to give this more of an illusion that there's a hard light source here. I think we can just do that with our maybe that there. And something like this over here, I don't know. Tyler, looking nice. Thanks, man. Been experimenting as well, trying to solidify the concepts we learned in the workshop. Fantastic. That's the best way you're going to do it, man. Keep experimenting. Trying stuff out. Because that way you're going to quickly see where the gaps are in your knowledge. It's what I do all the time. It's like why I'm doing this right now. I just want to try different rendering techniques and see where they make sense, where they don't. Still using all those fundamentals that we learnt in the workshop though. Do we do glasses? Why not? They're a little bit too forward, I think. I kind of want them to sit somewhere, probably. Like here. Hello. Are we back? Test. Test. Maybe? I'm not too sure. It's back. For absolutely no reason. I don't know, it must be, I'm doing something wrong. I have not a clue. I was just sitting here minding my own business. Also, I've got to figure out a way. I've got to like tape my mouth shut. Because I'm a bloody mouth breather when I draw. I notice that every time because there's like a delay on stream and I'll look at myself and I'm just like, I've got to just not breathe through my mouth. It's embarrassing. Maybe they're like little tiny ones. Come on. Nurzaf. Hello from Indonesia. Hello. Thanks for popping in. Don't worry, you're not the only one. We just see you on camera, just concentrating too hard. Oh, man. That's why I hate watching myself back. Because some of the faces I pull, particularly if I'm like copying the expression, I'm just like, and if I'm like scrubbing through it, I'm just like, the whole time it's so annoying. I'm just like, oh damn, I did a whole 2 hours of that, did I? I usually get like this drawing spicy content. Oh shit. Okay, now let's see. Flow state symptoms. I know, yeah, look. That's fair. It's the face of the flow state. It is what it is. I'm wondering if I could give some texture to this fella by doing a bit of this. Like seeing if I can get some of this directional shading happening. Because this, in reality, this right here, this little section shouldn't be as bright as this section up here. So I wonder if I could do a little bit of the old line direction trick. It's not a trick, it is what it is. Pumpkin spicy. What the fuck? Very seasonal. I like it. Speaking of, I think I'm going to be there over... Yeah, we'll be in the US when it's Halloween. And if there are any gatherings, I don't know what I should go as. I have not a clue. The most effort I've ever put into like a dress up thing, there was a Freddie Mercury night that one of our friends had. And my dad's a dental technician. And what he did is he made an impression of my teeth. Then he basically made me dentures that like made the buck tooth of Freddie Mercury, and how that changes how you talk, everything. It was very fun. That's about the most effort I've put into it, and I grew out a mustache. But Halloween isn't massive over here. It's not as big as over in the States, that's for sure. Tyler. No, not a new setup. Actually, maybe since last week. So I'm just using a pen tablet because I wanted to get used to using it again for when I'm traveling, which does give me better posture, that's for sure. Good observation. Halloween is only a commercial thing here, yeah. I mean, it's kind of picking up steam here a little bit. But yeah, it's nothing like over in the States where people put a whole bunch of stuff out the front of their house, and I mean, some people do that here. Here in Japan, I think it's mostly an excuse to cosplay. Yeah, fair. Yep, I can see that. Halloween is my favorite time of year. It's the only time of year I can wear a dress and nobody says anything. Nice. Last year, I found the I tried candied corn for the first time. That stuff's dangerous. I couldn't get enough of it. This is where you can do the same thing here on the edge of the shadows. This is where you can add a little bit of that visual interest of how it's sort of crossing over from light to dark. Because not everything is going to be like perfectly cut off at the shadow, you know? What's your setup got to be at Lightbox? Tablet and MacBook? Do they provide anything? No, they don't provide anything. So I'm going to, yeah, tablet, MacBook, and a monitor. And we're going, and then 50. So I'm going to be on one half, and then Rembert's going to be on the other half, drawing his little buns off in his books. So yeah, I'll have a lot of time to have a chat. Because I couldn't believe it last year. I thought I was going to be drawing for most of the time. But it really, really did surprise me how many people popped in that were popping in to say hi. It was very, very cool. Also, I think I may have found my downfall with my voice last year. I was crushing like soda waters and like sparkling waters all the time, all day, every day, like 4 or 5 of them. Turns out that can actually irritate your voice a ton. I'm thinking I'm getting hydrated. Meanwhile, I'm wondering why I can't bloody talk. So I've got a plan. Throat coat tea. And sore throat spray. My favorite candy, Reese's peanut butter. Leeks, how you doing? Favorite candy is Reese's peanut butter cups. So dangerous. Yeah. Mind you, I don't have too much of a sweet tooth anymore. I used to. I used to not understand what a bloody calorie was when I was a younger man. And I would just hammer anything and everything. My McDonald's order, depending on if it was breakfast or not, I would just be like, yeah, give me a egg and sausage and egg, 2 sausage and egg McMuffins, and then give us a, depends on what I was feeling, whether I was feeling like a Big Mac or a quarter pounder. Then I'd have like a vanilla milkshake. Not a huge, wasn't a huge fan of fries. And then I'd have maybe whatever, maybe like an apple pie or something. Like I would just smash that. It depends. We've also got something here called Hungry Jack's, which I think is the equivalent of Burger King over in the States. Whoa, a Whopper. I'd have like a normal Whopper with cheese, and then I'd grab a junior Whopper with cheese. Can you tell that I might be a little bit hungry? I don't know. Did anyone go to Tokyo Game Show? I did not. I'd like to visit Tokyo. So I'm just noodling on this fella. We're really just playing. Testing different techniques. Now do we do a bit of this where we can kind of really outline this side of the face. Add a bit of those darker indications. Now it's little transitions like this that really help sell the feeling of form, because it would be easy just to keep this one value that like side of his cheek. What's happening is this is wrapping around. All right, it's coming around here, so less light is going to be hitting. Catch you later, Win. Have a great day at work. Thank you very much. Thanks for popping in. Do we try something like this? Like, do we frame the face with a bit of a vignette? Do we bring it down here or no? Let's try it. Yeah, don't hate it. Don't hate it. So maybe we bring this down to the shoulder here. So we block that off. And that's our vignette. Ben, do you have any recommendations or exercises to level up on drawing skills? What are you trying to draw? What sort of stuff are we thinking? Oh, like line efficiency. I would say, if you haven't been already, try. So you've got your typical, like, all right, yeah, draw boxes and cubes and that kind of stuff. Boxes, cubes, cylinders. It's all good stuff, right? But what I recommend you play with is some of these like whisper lines or whatever you want to call them. All right, so this, from a line efficiency standpoint, you can then decide inside the 3D shape how much detail that you want to give. right? So say there was this sort of hole in here, right? That might be enough to indicate that hole inside here, you know? So you've got this sort of around the corner kind of line, which is going to be a little bit darker. Then you got some of these whisper lines. And doing exercises like this, like even just cutting the cube out and seeing how little you can get away with, and then saying, okay, what if I put the dark line there? Does that read a little bit clearer? Okay, what's going to happen here? Should that be like somewhere along here? You know what I mean? So practicing some of these whisper lines can really help. And I do them all the time, like in here with the nose on like the sort of edge of the nose here. A little bit of this, you know? And see if you can hit that line. Just boom, and like leave it there. You know, because I think you can quickly start to get into this habit because you're trying to get just the right line. You know what I mean? It's not bad. It's not good. It just is a different way of doing stuff. Nothing wrong with it. But if you're thinking about efficiency, you sort of got to practice a little bit with throwing those lines down, and even thinking about putting the line down before you do. It sounds simple, but when I started to do that, particularly if you were working off of reference as well, so like say if I wanted to, I don't know, like let's just do another cube, right? I'm going to throw this first line down. Now, where is this next line going to go? I'm thinking about that. I'm not just going to go, all right, I'm drawing a cube, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, all right, I want it to land here. I notice that I'm doing multiple strokes, but they're in the same line. That comes with practice. Okay. So then I want to think, all right, this is going to go back in space there. This, think, where am I going to throw this line and why? Okay. Back here, connect those up. All right, whisper line, maybe do a double line to show like a little bevel. You know, you can just sort of play. If this isn't working out, erase and give it another whirl. All right, but even just taking the time to think through why you're putting certain lines down, I think can help with efficiency as well. You might not be as quick, it might feel slower, but if we're talking about efficiency, if we can hit the lines that we want first or second time, right, versus doing a bunch of this and then erasing back and then trying to find that other line and then erasing back, you know what I mean? If we're just purely talking about efficiency, give those a shot, you know? Think about what you're throwing down first and give those whisper lines a shot. I reckon that'll be a good bit of fun for you to play around with. Hopefully that makes sense. Sick. What blending brush is that? That's just a little custom one, the soft smudger. And what I did is I turned on noise here, which is nice. These will be released soon. Into the wild. can do a little bit of what we did here with the stubble. Maybe in the lower lip. I'd like that to jut back more so. Yeah, look, we're just noodling on this. I think we got I got what I wanted out of it. A little bit of a process shift. Could I do this? The bit in the picture you drew reminded me of Miyazaki. It does a little bit, doesn't it? Oh, Lana. Thanks for popping in anyway, though. I took a schoolism course once and the instructor called them multiple choice lines. Okay, there you go. Yeah, I know, yeah, people call them all sorts of stuff. I call them whisper lines just because, I don't know, you're not trying to be too verbose with the lines. You're just trying to suggest something, more of just a little like, oh, maybe this is there. Don't want to interrupt anyone, you know. 3 a.m. You're on an hour earlier now for me, I think. Yeah, yeah, daylight saving kicked in this weekend, which is annoying. Or maybe it's not annoying. Maybe that's better for you. I'm not sure. MDS, 3 a.m. finally done with my assignment. Good night. Thanks for the stream. Appreciate you, my friend. MDS, you go get some sleep. You crazy kid. 3 a.m. I couldn't imagine doing that nowadays. Sounds so fucking old, but I couldn't. I've done it. Done many an all-nighter. I think maybe I've used all of my all-nighters up. No, it's annoying. Okay, my fault. I have a habit of rushing to the end product really fast and it ends up a bit messy. Do you have any advice? Slow it down. That's annoying, but I mean, if you've identified that you're rushing, slow it down, or try that with like a smaller project. You know, maybe a smaller study. Maybe just this like arm here. You know, see if you can slow down and not put so much pressure on yourself to make it look a particular way. See if you can get something out of it other than the end result. You know what I mean? Could you actually point to something and say, ah, yeah, I understand this, how to render this particular form better, right? Doesn't have to be well, doesn't have to be the exact way that you envisioned it, but it's like, what can you actually take away from the study session, you know? because I think then that could help take the want or need for there to be a finished product quickly. And just decide not to show anyone as well, because that could be something to consider. It's just for you. And then give yourself time to do the right, like get to a finished product as fast as you can. You don't have to stop it by any stretch of the imagination. Oh yeah, man, like the chicken scratch lines. You call them multiple choice because which line? Yeah. Who was that? That rings a bell actually. That does ring a bell. Got the suspenders. Lana, definitely pop past. We are table 4, 2, 1. Poof, 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 poof. Yeah, definitely pop past. What day are you coming down? No worries, Orgil. Abhishek, don't know if I'm going to colour this guy today, but we could. It might be an interesting thing to attempt to colour, but like try a different process. You know, maybe we just really separate those lights and the darks out first, really get the warms and the cools happening first, and then sort of start going for it. Ah, yes. Yeah, Jonathan Hardesty. Yep. That's where Yep. I think I've taken the same course. Knew it sounded familiar. I'm trying to work with a traditional brush pen right now because I like to torture you. Yeah. That is bloody tricky. Yeah, brush pens are very, very tricky, but they're awesome though. They just put all your mistakes on display. There's no hiding. Either Friday or Sunday. I'm still waiting to figure it all out. Chris, what's going on? Brush pens have such a learning curve, don't they? What I found was the getting that feeling of them, like, and really like coming in and going out, coming in and going out, like really like having that kind of pressure to them, like super subtle, and then having that like thin, thick, thin really was like an aha moment for me. And then only using like this part of it if you wanted like the ultra thin stuff. Nice, Chris. There's a figure drawing class though that I have my eye on. That's on Friday. So, ooh. Fuck yeah, maybe I gotta dip out for a couple of these things, you know? Yeah, no, it's going to be awesome. Prashant, you're going to be there all three. It might be out on Sunday. Brush pens are great. Tough to use sometimes. 1000%. Should we follow this vignette through? I don't know. Something feels a little off. Let's try it. It might be a little bit too on the nose. Not terrible. Don't necessarily like this here. This gives me more like product design vibes. How they do the vignette with the marker, and then they're just like. I don't really like it, but I've done it, so here we are. Yeah, this different process is giving it a very, very different look than what I'm used to, which is sick, which is cool. You know, it's like getting out of the comfort zone. Oh, Prashant, really? Congrats, dude. Nice one. Feel free to plug your course. Trying to do Inktober, but then I realized I don't know anything about inking. Yep. Now, if I can only get into Eblin Studios, yeah, well, that could be an option. Because I've been thinking about that more and more. Do I start doing something like that? Could be fun. right, look, I'm just noodling now. The one I'm using is fun to use, but one wrong mark and bust out the uni Pascal white. Oh, dude, I feel that. I feel that. Oh, look, I reckon I might call it a day. Lovely to see you all. Plugs. If you like this stuff and you want to learn more, check the links in the description. Got an 8-hour 10-chapter walkthrough tutorial available right now. Check us out. Lightbox, 24th to the 26th of this month in Pasadena, California. 421 table. What else? Look out for new courses that are coming out. New workshops. You know where to find me. You're smart people. For those that are in chat, really appreciate you, as always. Having the opportunity to chat and do a bit of art is always lovely. And those that aren't chatting, appreciate you just the same. The lurkers. All right. With that, I'll catch you next week. I think I'll catch you next week. Hold on. Hold the phone. Uno momento, por favor. Yes. I will catch you next week. Same time. 10:45 a.m. Australian Central Daylight Time, which is around 2, 3 something. What's the time now in PST? Let's actually get it accurate. PST time. 7:31. All right. So I started at 10, 6, 5. Around 5. 5 p.m. PST. Every week. Next week we'll be on. The week after, we'll see how the setup is. Because I'll be traveling. But if I can, I will. All right. I'll catch you all next week. Have a great rest of your week. Or weekend.